Ricochet, bringing you my first video, just introducing myself and about why I made this channel. So basically the reason I created this channel was so that way I can hopefully inspire people who are really depressed or feel like they have no reason to live and just feel like their life is kind of has no direction and they're lost, because I've been there before. I've been so depressed that I was sitting on my couch with a gun to my head contemplating suicide. And when I was in high school, my senior year. But so I've experienced, and I grew up poor. My parents divorced when I was young. My dad was an alcoholic and drug addict, and my mother, well, she worked hard to provide. And so, she was always gone working, and if she wasn't working, well, she was with her boyfriend or significant others, and just, I was just left to fend for myself. Basically, I raised myself since I was a young boy, about 6 or 7 years old. So it's been quite a crazy life that I've lived, and I want to just create videos now to help reach out to people. And I come from you know, about as bad of an environment as you can get growing up here in the States. And I don't know about nowadays, because nowadays, man, there's some crazy people out there who really do crazy things. But, I'm an 80s kid, so, back then it wasn't so crazy. But, it was in a different sense where you could drive drunk and drive around without kids strapped into in car seats and stuff like that. So crazy in a different sense. But nowadays you got parents who lock their kids up in dog kennels and starve them. And so yeah, of course that would be the most horrific kind of situation. But in general, it wasn't the most ideal situation that I grew up in. And so I just want you to know that it gets better. It just takes a lot of work, and you just have to want it. So just a little bit about myself. Oh, and also, this mask. I just want to remain anonymous for a little bit. I know that eventually I'm going to take this mask off. And I guess you can kind of, the way I look at it is, you guys got to take y'all's mask off too. A lot of people out there are fake and just put on a show and pretend. They're not their real selves. And you really should never be fake. Always just be yourself, because everybody's different. Nobody's perfect. And so you should just always hold your head up high and be proud of who you are, because you're different and so is everybody else. We're all special in our own way. You should never just judge somebody because they're a little bit different than you. But that's for another story in another video. So let me just continue with so I guess my early life in high school. So, well, actually, before I start that, another quick note is I'm doing these videos as well for my daughters, because I plan on doing different videos on different topics, and just talking maybe for 10 minutes about topics from World War II to Vietnam War to, I don't know, the moon landing and the Cold War, and just topics, different topics. So that way, they can look back and, if I pass away and they're still young or something, anything, or, I grow old and I have hundreds of videos for them to scour through and get my thoughts on certain topics. So it works either way, and, I think it would be a good idea for anybody to do. So, just to continue on, I grew up on a ranch, about a 2,000-acre ranch, and lived in a single wide trailer. Like I said, very poor out on that ranch. And my parents divorced at a young age, and I basically raised myself since I was a young boy. And I lived on that ranch most of my grade school years. Everything except for when I was in junior high. I lived in town. And so when I was in high school, my freshman year, I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anything because nobody cared about me. And so I just had no reason to care about anything. So I skipped a lot of school and got into trouble. Well, I wouldn't say I got into trouble necessarily, but I skipped a lot of school, and as a result, I almost didn't graduate. My senior year, I had to do detention to make up for it. So I almost didn't graduate as a result of all the school that I missed as a freshman. But my sophomore year, I was in FFA or ag, and and on Fridays, my teacher, he would take us around to look at plants, and it interested me because growing up on the ranch, I was always curious as to what the different plants were. You know, like I know that's a grass and that's a tree, but what kind of grass is that? What's it called? And you know, the same with the trees and the just different flowers and stuff. And so he would take us around and teach us that. So I was really interested in it, like, oh, this is cool, you know. And I would ask questions and try to learn it. And he told me, he was like, hey, you know, he obviously recognized that had a big interest in what we were doing. And he had told me about a competition that there is about doing that stuff. You know, you learn characteristics of plants and you learn how to identify them. It's called Plant ID. And I said, yeah, man, I'll give it a shot. He said it's hard. You know, he said it's probably the hardest competition there is in FFA. And I was like, you know, it doesn't bother me none. It's something that I'm interested in. So I gave it a shot. And my sophomore year, we ended up winning state with a 3-man team. 2 seniors who had been doing it forever, basically probably their whole life, because they were probably in 4-H as well, you know, as young boys. But you know, those 2 seniors, it was just them 2 and me as a 3-man team. We went to state and won the competition. So it was a good feeling, you know, to be a part of something that was successful first off, you know, and it was awesome to win state, you know, as a 3-man team rather than a 4-man team. And so yeah, that was good. You know, I was second high point in the state, you know, second highest individual, and one of the seniors on my team was the first high point. So it was pretty good, and I think the other guy was about 5th high point. So first, second, and 5th took state as a team. And my junior year, we went and competed again at the state level, and I was second high point again. And but like I said, we didn't stay that year because those 2 seniors had graduated. But you know, basically at that point, after I was in Plant ID and doing these competitions, I had to pass my classes, so I had to care again. You know, so I did care because I wanted to compete, and so I went back to passing my classes and going back to school and caring. So basically, if it wasn't for that teacher, I would have never graduated, more than likely. And well, I may have graduated, but I may have never ever done anything else, because it's just kind of how life works. But who knows? Anyway, so my senior year, I didn't go compete because of, you know, I had this falling out with a girl basically, and I didn't care much for life, and I was depressed about everything, and you know, I still really, you know, had the freedom to do what I want, and things were falling apart for my father even more so. We were basically kind of homeless. I mean, I did have a roof over my head, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's for another video. Like I said, it's just a quick introduction, so I'm going to just continue on. About my military service, I joined the military in 2006 as an 11 X-ray, Fort Benning, Georgia, basic training, and yeah, so graduated basic training, went to a brand new unit, and started out as a machine gunner, 240 Bravo machine gunner, and I was kind of disappointed at first because I grew up on the ranch shooting guns, and it was you know, so I wanted to at least be behind a rifle, but I quickly got over that because obviously it was a fully automatic machine gun that shoots 7.62 or 308 caliber rounds, and it's an incredible machine. So I fell in love with it and quickly got over that, and I loved being a part of weapons squad. My squad leader was one of the best in the company, if not the whole battalion at the time, and we just had a great squad. The other machine gunner was a good friend of mine who passed away in Afghanistan, and I love him to death. And we were the best weapon squad there was in that whole company. But anyway, so one morning they asked, I was in a brand new unit. When I first got there, we had no guns, no weapons, no vehicles, no buildings, no anything. And so finally, as we started getting stuff, like I said, I got that 240 spot, and one morning they asked who wants to try out to be a sniper, and I raised my hand, and I was one of probably about 12 people who showed up that got selected. It was 3 guys overall, and it was over a 3-day selection course where I basically walked and ran 50 to 60 miles at least over those 3 days, slept maybe 6 hours, and ate maybe 2 meals or so. 2 meals that were actually worthy of being considered a meal. And it was tough. It was one of the hardest 3 days of my life, other than being overseas in actual war. But so yeah, so that's how it kind of goes. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2009. I got hurt a few months prior to that. I'm still hurt, going to be getting surgery soon, so hopefully that goes well. I finally saw a civilian doctor who was actually able to put me through tests that showed him that, like, hey, yeah, actually you have pain. That, and as proof. So I've got all kinds of diagnosis for it, but that's, like I said, that's for another video. Let's talk about some more about my military service. I did go to airborne school. I got my EIB, True Blue EIB. I graduated sniper school in 2008. Deployed in 2009. Deployed hurt. Was over there for a little bit and came back. And there's a lot I'd like to talk about all that stuff. So there's going to be lots of videos about that stuff. So finally, now going on to school to wrap it up here. So I started in 2010 when I got out of the military. I actually started in the fall semester before I even was actually considered out of the military. I was on terminal leave. And I had to learn everything all over again. There was nothing that I remembered, of course, being a grunt in the infantry. I was just busy learning infantryman skills and stuff to survive a war and to go to war. And so obviously I couldn't remember any algebra or anything really that was considered academia, other than just your basic arithmetic, stuff like that. And and so of course, like I said, I had to start learning everything all over. And I started as a botany major, and because like I said, I love plants, and they fascinate me. They provide so much for us. And so I started as a botany major, but we decided to have a child. My daughters, they're both planned. We planned on having them, and so that way it was convenient to our schedule in a sense. So we decided to have a child, and we had her, and then we moved down. And when I moved down to where I'm from, there was no botany major that I could pursue, so I decided to pursue a chemistry major, because chemistry is everything. Plants, and do everything obviously with chemicals, and so do we, and everything. Like I said, chemistry is everything. So I decided to pursue a chemistry degree, and so then I just after doing that, I looked into it and saw that basically with your bachelor's degree in chemistry, for the most part, you can get a job working for somebody who has their master's or their doctorate in chemistry. And so rather than doing that, I thought, I'll look into chemical engineering, because the engineering school here at my university is a very good university, or a good department, engineering department here at my university. So I looked into it, and of course chemical engineers make more money right away and can have a bigger diversity of job options. So I decided to pursue my degree in chemical engineering. So I switched from chemistry to chemical engineering. And so when I did that, my chemistry professor, she She basically convinced me to double major because it's not too much more classes, too many more classes, and it's basically another year of school. So I just decided, why not? It just kind of, like I said, I love chemistry, a kind of something that I wanted to pursue anyways to begin with. So I said okay, and I didn't even know if I could do chemical engineering. You know, it's just one of those things like, yeah, I'll do it. And there was a point to where I did have to get over the hump of, basically in high school, in high school I could just pay attention in class and pass, as opposed to just going home and actually studying. I had to create study habits basically, because my whole life I could go without studying and pass. So obviously that's not the case in college, especially if you choose an engineering degree. You have to study and you have to learn, and you can only fake it till you make it so far as an engineer. So yeah, that was a big hump I had to get over, but with the discipline that I learned in the military and the support of the help of everyone, of course my professors here are world-class professors, so they were great help to help me, help us understand these concepts. And of course I had to put a lot of work in, a lot of late nights and a lot of long days. So yeah, now I'm about to graduate with both my degrees, and that's going to be pretty amazing. I'm doing research in 2 different departments, the chemistry and engineering departments. I'm a small business owner where I do firearm classes basically. I'm starting a non-profit organization because that's what I want to do with my life, is try to help people. And rather than, I feel like I could have a bigger impact on people's lives and make a difference in this world if I start a non-profit organization and be my own boss, basically. I basically want to be my own boss too, because I have a real bad stigma about working for somebody and supervisors, as I was in a really bad unit in the military. Of course I had good sergeants, there were good sergeants in my unit, but for the most part the higher up, leadership were very bad. So like I said, there's like a lot of videos I'd obviously like to do on my military time. So that's about it, I guess. I've talked about my youth, my military, my now, and kind of my future. And so I hope that you guys, follow me and go ahead and shoot me questions, or anything, bring it on. I really don't care what what you ask or anything. Just feel free to message me, leave a comment, and whatever. So I'll make another video here soon about, hopefully this week. I've been pretty busy. I plan on getting surgery soon, so it's gonna kind of hinder these videos, but before I get that surgery, hit me up so that way I can make more videos and y'all can get to know me a little better, and I'll be coming out with some more videos soon, like I said. So stay tuned, and I hope to see y'all soon and hear from y'all soon. Peace easy.